Excellent. Thank you very much. Have a seat down. Look, Minister Graham, as our chairman said, it's been very encouraging and refreshing your approach to thinking about improvement districts and this partnership, not just here in Sydney, but right across New South Wales. Terrific to hear the announcement just now on the exposure bill and progressing. We're very pleased to continue to support you and the government and the teams think about this and this model and how it can be applied here, not just in Sydney and the waterfront, but right across New South Wales as well. I've really enjoyed my time meeting you, Minister, and discussions when you're in opposition and also when you're into government. Didn't quite get the chance to see you play at your music venue, which I think is that legendary, you performing? Yeah? And I'm back. But thank you. And I think, look, the improvement district model, whether we are looking at community improvement districts, business improvement districts, sustainability improvement districts, which I've been talking around in Sydney for the last 12 months, the principle of that collective investment, that shared outcomes, business, community, public sector coming together to achieve some results is absolutely fundamental. And that is why there's almost 3,000 of these around the world, this model, and it's fantastic that we've been able to pilot this and be one of the first here in Australia. So good afternoon. I'd also like to welcome you to the best bit of the waterfront here in the Western Harbour. And I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands that we're meeting on today and humbly pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. Now, I've met many of you in the last 12 months that I've been here. Some of you I haven't, so for those that don't know me, I'm Jace Tyrrell, and it's been my absolute privilege in the last 12 months to bring this partnership together and really pioneer a new way of working collectively as a business community. We've had fantastic support with our board, many of them here today. I'd like to acknowledge them, and also our brilliant and lean team of waterfronters with Ivona, Robbie, Jodie, and Susanna, who are part of the waterfront team as well. It was actually almost 500 days to the day that Jeff and I stood in front of you at our last summit, and we asked ourselves the question, what would make the world's best waterfront a reality? And look, over the last 15 months, we've been on that journey with many of you, our partners right across the waterfront and our partners in the public sector and the City of Sydney as well. Really thinking around how we could work together, both in the short run with some operations and some programs and services, but also in the longer term as well. And it's really building on that fantastic work and the foundation that was almost 8 years ago when businesses came together to think around this. And part of our foundations for growth, we've now got 50 partners. I think we had about 5 when I joined, so we've got 50 members who are supporting this. We've raised over $1 million in grant funding and support from the city and state to match the private sector investment into some of our initiatives. We have been absolutely championing the ID model around anyone that would listen. My thanks to Paul Nicolau and Business Sydney and Business New South Wales, who have allowed me many platforms on many occasions to spruik the benefits of this model. And we've really looked at our governance model in terms of how we're ensuring from a business point of view, from our residents and neighbourhoods and other communities in culture and not-for-profit, they're really engaged in our thinking and our program as well. And we've launched a few programs and services, which we're going to talk around a bit later on during the summit. Governance has been really important, and I think, my lessons from London and Singapore, it was hugely important when I arrived to really understand the local community and the residents, the 25,000 residents that live and some of them work in our area as well. There's a very ambitious and very focused group of local residents in Pyrmont, and it was an absolute privilege to walk around with Elizabeth Lanius, who I think is here with us today as well, and really tread lots of steps understanding the nuances of what was happening in the community, how business could work better with the community, and how this model could really lend itself to deliver on that. And I think I really want to thank the time and the energy that they've given me and the organisations we've stepped through that process. Also, we've evolved our working groups. We have a number of subject matter experts across destination promotion, across insights and data, across the more strategic questions that we're trying to answer. And you've given your time, your colleagues' time, into those various sessions to help inform our views and our thinking, and also challenge us in a really well-constructed way, which helps us develop our thinking as well. I think working, as said, in London and Singapore, when you actually bring the residents and community together with business, it can be a very powerful force for good. And actually, when you sit there and understand the issues that we're all facing, whether you live, work, or visit this fantastic waterfront, connectivity, active public transport, making sure we're sympathetic to local community, but also creating a vibrant waterfront, these are all shared outcomes that we want to see in the business community, with our neighbouring community and with our partners in the City of Sydney and the state as well. So this process with our Charter for Partnership, which we're going to launch here this afternoon, has really been 12 months of informing us and that thinking to get us to this end point, and well worth that investment of time and energy through that process. We've walked around the precinct many times. Obviously, the Minister, we've also had many councillors, various departments from investment, from destination, from transport, New South Wales. And also, I want to personally thank and shout out to Ken Markwell, the CEO of Bangarra, and also Philippa McDermott, the chair of Bangarra, who've invested some time really early on with us to think around how we could genuinely build a partnership with First Nations, building on some very good work that colleagues at the ICC have done and others in terms of reconciliation action plans. So what could a program of activity look like to really embed connection to country into the precinct? And what could we actually do in terms of employment and enterprise? And I've seen some of these great initiatives in other parts of the world. So I hope the board and the partnership will continue to work with Bangarra, with the Metropolitan Land Council and the other groups there to help us inform some of that thinking as we move forward. As Jeff said, it was quite remarkable when I arrived. We really didn't know what was happening in this precinct from an insights and data perspective. We had lots of views and lots of emotion about what we thought was happening, who was coming, what they did, what the problems were. So very early on, we recognised we need to literally turn the lights on here to understand from a data-led and an evidence point of view who was coming, where they went, why they weren't coming, which is hugely important to us, and where those opportunities were into the future. And it was fantastic to work with our colleagues at Colliers, both here in Australia and back in the UK as well, to really prove out some operational services to inform businesses who are trading here, how they could work and perform better. Thinking about our developers and our owners and our asset managers, how they use the data to think about their medium to long-term strategy in terms of their leasing, their anchors, their investment into public space through the data. And also for our government colleagues, whether it's city or state or federal, really leaning into evidence-led policy through our data and informing that. And I think it's been quite remarkable, the success we've had with our data and insights program. And in fact, the members who tell us that, we just had a review and a survey, and over 85% saying it was highly valued in terms of the service we were offering. And of course, we're going to continue building on that into the future as well. As I said, running around Sydney and Australia for the last 12 months, really championing the improvement district model, but also starting to talk around the change that's happening in the waterfront. It's quite extraordinary. There's 12 billion, big number, 12 billion of investment coming here with the metro stations, with the developments that have come down that are going to come up in the next decade, and actually showcasing to our visitors, to our potential new tenants of the future, to our local community, you know, the change and transformation is sizable, and it's remarkable what's happening here, and we are coming together to really realise that. But we're also repurposing this precinct, not just for the next decade, but for the next 50 years as well. And really, we want to attract in the next decade some first to Australia, some first in culture and leisure and business and enterprise and new economy sectors. So having the partnership, having the data, working with our property owners and developers, we're able to really start to champion that and to really change the mix and the offer that this precinct lends itself to. Now, as Jeff mentioned, we couldn't have done this without the brilliant partnership and the investment of many people in this room, including our founding and inspired board. I think most of them are here today, which is fantastic to see them here, and certainly their colleagues have lent in and supported us on this journey as well. Also, our 50 partners, again, many of you here across many different sectors: culture, education, lifestyle, advisory, professional services, food and beverage. It's great to have you joining this partnership on a voluntary basis before we become a formal improvement district as well. And I think you've really helped us prioritise our programs. You've obviously invested in us, and you believe in this model as well because you want to make the precinct a better place. And of course, none of this could happen without our partners in government. So whether it's colleagues at placemaking, our other departments we work with at the state, and also the City of Sydney, who did give us some grant funding to get us off the ground. And I think that's really important, and it's terrific to see the government is going to continue investing in the startups to give that capability and resource to these partnerships. And of course, our sort of trade and advocacy groups that have really been championing the model and supporting us as well as we've rolled out in the last sort of 500 days. So the next section, we're going to sort of give you a whistle-stop tour of some of the programs and initiatives that we've been working on for the last 12 months. I often refer to this as our heart, our head, and our soul. So in our heart, and there's a lot of love here for Kate from Irvis, who's actually thinking around the vision for our place, what actually is making up that DNA, what are the principles of the world's best waterfronts. And I think that's a really important stretching piece for us that Kate's going to talk around the work that she's been doing with us for the last 12 months. Our head, the brains in the room, is Matt from Colliers, going to talk around some of the data that we've seen and the trends that we've been following. And our soul is the brilliant Kerry from Sydney Fringe, how can we create some real soul and authenticity into our waterfront. And we'll talk around some of our partnership this year with Sydney Fringe, but also that opportunity for the future as well. So let me hand over a lot of love to the heart to begin with Kate from Irvis. Thank you.